Hello, I'm Martin. I've been playing Civilization 6 for a very, very long time, since it first came out, Civilization in the 1980s, I think. And I've noticed a lot of people coming new to the hobby now, and they're sometimes asking questions on the forums. What I wanted to do was to provide a tutorial, a straightforward tutorial, that's going to take you literally from turn one, from opening the game, all the way through to a science victory. And I'm going to be focusing on all of the kind of decisions that you need to make and all the things that you need to be thinking about as you work your way towards your first victory. There's no doubt that these tutorials are aimed at new players and fairly new players. There isn't going to be much that I'm going to be able to teach an experienced player. An experienced player is probably better than me, but new and fairly new players, I'm going to go through that entire sequence for you and make sure that you understand all of the key decisions. Now, it is worth saying, at the very, very beginning, I'm going to be going into a lot of detail about things that someone who's even been playing for a little while may already know. It may be that you find something interesting when I'm going through things that you feel you already know about. Well, it may be that I don't, so you'll have to make your own decision about whether or not these videos are relevant to you. But as we get into the sequence, we will more and more be focusing on the key strategic decisions that are required as we go through the game in order to achieve a reasonably quick science victory. When we finish this sequence, we're going to do another one on domination, culture, and work our way through, not necessarily in that order, work our way through the victory types. So I'm really looking forward to doing this. I hope some of you get something out of it. If you do, you are learning something or you're enjoying the sequence at all, then please hit like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Let's get into the game. So here we are. We're going to, first of all, we're going to have a little look at our leader. You can see that you can obviously go for a random leader, but we're going to move down and we are going to find Frederick Barbarossa, and I shall talk about his attributes when we're in game. We're going to leave this on prince setting. Now, in actual fact, I don't always play on deity, but I can play on deity and I can win the game on deity. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I think it's better to select prince, which is a good challenge for somebody who is relatively new to the game. It's also not too challenging for me, so with a little bit of luck, I'm not going to lead everybody through this how-to guide and then lose at the end. We're going to keep standard speed. Really, online speed is for people who are quick, and online speed, they're much, much faster. They're for people who are playing against other human beings. Epic and marathon just make the game very, very much longer. It's a really, really interesting challenge, but it's probably not what somebody who's new to the game and learning the mechanics is going to want to be thinking about doing. There are lots of map types to choose from, but we are going to leave it on the default, which is continents, because although the naval game is not going to be very important for us in a science victory of this kind, by playing on continents, we're going to want to do a little bit of exploration. I'm going to be able to introduce the naval game a little bit. We are going to go for a small map, simply because that plays a little bit more quickly. Now, a small map has 6 players. One of those, of course, will be us, so there'll be 5 opponents to us. One of the disadvantages of that, for the purposes of this tutorial, is that we will almost certainly end up becoming close friends with all of those 5 civilizations, which means we won't have a very interesting science game. So that's something that perhaps we'll look at in a later tutorial in a little bit more detail. Now, these are also really, really interesting modes. You can switch on as many or as few of these as you want. I am going to leave all of them off for the purposes of this game, simply because I think there's something that you may want to do to add some colour and some flavour once you understand the game. Perhaps when, I don't know, perhaps the game's beginning to feel a little bit vanilla because you've played it a few times. Adding these in will certainly kind of like spice up and make the game more interesting again. For the moment, I think there's plenty to keep our minds occupied. Disaster intensity 2 is the default setting. I'm going to leave that there, and we are not going to worry about the random settings. We are going to leave all of those as they are default. And now we are going to press Start Game. Right, here we go. Okay, so first thing that we need to obviously recognise is that we've got two units there, and most people watching this I'm sure would know that the guy on the left, that's a warrior, that's a military unit. The guy on the right is a settler, and it has the function really of just early on settling a city very, very quickly. I'm going to talk later on about some of the things you might want to consider when settling a city. I'll talk about it very, very briefly here. I mean, the first thing is exploration is really important. So you really want to be settling on the first turn, or second, or perhaps the third turn. You certainly don't want to be leaving it any very much longer than that. It's worth moving to a better location, but you don't want to waste lots of turns. So this warrior is going to explore. If I move him onto this hill, he'll get a little bit of visibility around here. Okay, so we get to see all of that. Now I have to say this isn't the strongest start position that I've ever come across, but what I like about it is that this is a science game, and there are 3 mountains here. So a campus there, a campus district, which is a kind of a science district, built there is going to produce an additional 3 science, because in this game science districts get +1 science for each mountain that is adjacent. There are other ways that you can get bonuses, but that's a pretty strong start. So I'm thinking wherever I place this unit, it's going to be somewhere where I can build my capital that's going to be within range of building a campus here. And for that reason, I think I'm going to move it onto this hill here. There aren't amazing tiles anywhere, but if I move onto this hill, you can see these the yield for this is higher than it is in most of the other tiles around here. The only other 4/4 is this one here, but that would move me too far away from the campus that I'm hoping to build. So I'm going to head for this location here. It's not going to be a brilliant start city, but it's not going to be the worst that I've ever had anyway. Incidentally, if you are playing and you do not have these yields displayed, you have to go to the map options, and there's lots of things that you can turn on and off. As for example, if you look, the grid has just disappeared. I like to play with the grid on, and you've got the show yield icons. Just simply toggle them off or toggle them on. I think an experienced player would know what the yield for all of these tiles would be, but even as an experienced player, I like to have them on. It makes it easier for me to visualize which places are most valuable to me. End of turn. So everything gets to move once, or perform some sort of action. So this warrior unit, obviously I don't want to move it too far away from my capital city because he's my only defensive unit, but at the same time I've got nothing to explore with, so he's going to explore the environment immediately around my what will be my capital in a moment. I'll move up there. Now notice these units have got 2 movement points. Moving onto flat land costs 1, so you can move across 2 flat land tiles. Moving into woods, jungle, hills costs 2, which is why this unit no longer has any points left. Okay, so we're going to build our city here. Okay. So I will talk a little bit about how this city works. So when you first found a city, you have a population of 1. That is the number that we have here. The little 8 up here tells you that with the current way that the city is organised, it will take 8 turns until the population grows to 2. Bigger populations are good, they're more productive, you're able to produce more. If we click on the name, for example, if I click on this one here, manage citizens, you will see that this tile here is being worked by default by the AI, the computer if you like, has decided that's the best tile for me to be working. Now, I completely agree with it because it's producing 2 food and it's producing 2 production. By far, that's much, much more valuable than this tile or this tile, okay, which is producing 2 food and no production at all. This tile is a little bit more complex because it is providing 2 food, which is the same, but it's producing money instead of production at this stage in the game. Actually, in most stages of the game, production is probably more valuable. Definitely at the beginning, production is more valuable than money. So you're always looking, really, if possible, to find a 2-1 tile for your or better for your first citizen to work. Now, for free, the city works the tile that the city is actually built on. So we are actually producing 2 food, that's 4 food in total. You can see over here it says plus 4 food, and we are working 3 production. Now you can see that we got plus 5 here. That's because the palace, which is the free building, if you like, that you get in your capital, always provides us with an additional 2 production. Now there are lots of other things that we are already producing. From that palace, we are getting culture, we are getting some science, we are not producing any faith. You don't default produce faith, but later on we'll no doubt be producing some faith. Now we'll have to make some important decisions. So we can, by simply clicking on a different tile, we could move this guy around, but actually I like where he is. That's a really, really great place for him to be. So what are we going to research? Okay, so that's the first thing that we're going to get asked. What do we want to research? Now we can pick from this list here. If we want to, we can look at the technology tree. Now I've got two ideas. One of those ideas is that it might well be worth researching animal husbandry, which will show us where horses are. Might very well be that one of these tiles very, very close to my city may very well be that it's a horse. Well, we just don't know because we don't really know what they are yet. We haven't discovered the value of horses. But if there were a horse here, for example, or here, it would be a much, much more productive hex than it is at the moment. So that might be a quick, easy way to get that to improve the production of our city. In addition, it leads to archery, and archery is a really good technology if you feel under threat early in the game. However, I also want to produce an early campus, so I'm very tempted to be working on pottery, which leads a bit to writing next. However, it's going to take a bit of effort to build that. This allows the harvesting of bonus resources that are improved by farms. So the maize, we would be able to chop that with a builder. I'll show you how to do that when we get there. So I'm going to go for animal husbandry first to try to improve the productiveness of my empire. I'm then going to go for pottery. Hang on, I can actually queue these up by pressing Shift. And then I might go for writing, or I might go for mining, depending on where we are. So those are my decisions at the moment. Right, you can see how this guy can move 2 now in this direction, which is really efficient use of him, because if you can get him, he's exploring more territory going that way. But I don't want him to go very far away from Aachen, my capital city, so he's going to try and explore this little mountain range here. So it's interesting, we've actually got another really interesting campus site. The problem with the campus here is it's a floodplain, so we'd have to find some way of protecting it from being flooded and damaged intermittently throughout the game. Right, now we can decide what to build. Okay, I'm going to build a scout. 9 times out of 10, maybe even higher, maybe 99 times out of 100, most players will build a scout first. They're quicker than the warrior. They are combat units, so they're not very good combat units. They're less strong than the warrior, but they are combat units and can help out a little bit defending your cities. But the primary thing is that they are faster. They have 3 movement points, and they're able to explore the map, and they're quite cheap as well. So let's end our turn. Okay, so now we can move 2. So we can really find out what's going on here. Now, and you'll notice that this was going to take 6 turns. It's now going to take 5 turns. We've got I suppose I should talk about those. There is a selection of things that we could have bought. And as we unlock technologies, we'll get more and more things. A monument produces culture. 1 culture per turn above the one that you sort of get for free, or the 1.2 that you get for free, is quite significant early on in the game. Basically doubles your culture production. We'll see the value of that in a minute. We could produce a builder. A builder would be really, really good if, when we reveal horses, if it turns out that there are some horses nearby, we would be able to go there and build a pasture on that and make them even more productive. We could build farms on here, make this more productive, and we could chop it. We could essentially get rid of that bonus resource with the builder once we've got pottery, and that would boost our population and would make space for the campus when we've got the technology and we've got the time in our production schedule. Obviously we could build more warriors if we felt that we needed those, and this is a different type of military unit, a slinger. We'll certainly want one of those early on, but at the moment, and most players would do the same, we're building this scout. Let's go to turn 5. Now, a couple of things to point out here. The first is that I can see just here a blue dotted line. That's telling me that although I've not met them yet, or I've not actually seen them yet, there is a city-state here, and because it's blue, I know it's a science city-state, and that's going to be great. If nobody else has met this city-state, then we're going to get a bonus from them. Let's just move here and see what happens. Okay, right, so this notification here is telling us that we are the first major civilization to meet Geneva, and for that reason we get a free envoy. Let's clear those for a moment. This tab up here is the city-states tab. By the end of the game there'll be quite a few city-states here probably. Now each envoy you get gives you a bonus. So the first envoy you get means that you get +1 science in your capital and in every library building. So our capital immediately is going to get +1 science. If we look up here, we're already getting that +1 science. It's not broken down there very clearly, but actually it might be in the it might be in the city. Let's have a look. +1 from modifiers. I think that's the one where it's coming from Geneva. I'm not sure why they call it modifiers, but yeah. So that's that +1 science we're getting from Geneva, and that's because we've got 1 envoy sent, the free envoy from being the first major civilization to meet them. Every city that we build, including the capital, if it has a campus and a library, it will get an additional +1 science. If we are able to get 3 envoys, then every university and consulate building, I'm not going to talk too much about the consulate buildings yet, it's a diplomatic building, we'll talk about it later, but you can only have 1 in the whole game, but every single city with a campus and a university is going to get an additional 2 science. That's quite high, okay, it's quite a lot. If we get all the way up to 6, every research lab, so that's the 3rd tier building for the campus. It's only late game that we're going to be able to build research labs, but I think they provide 4 science per turn. Well, if we've got 6 envoys with Geneva, it'll produce an additional 3, taking up to 7. So that's really significant, and there may be more science. City-states in the game. If we have 3 envoys and we have the most of any other civilization, because other civilizations will send envoys too, then we get the suzerain bonus. We become their suzerain. They're essentially allies. They declare war on anybody that we're at war with. But also, our cities earn an additional 15% science when we are at peace. We're not at war with any other civilization. That's the unique bonus for Geneva. No other city-state has that bonus, but as we meet other city-states, we'll see what their bonuses are. Now you'll see the next envoy I get isn't going to give us anything. It's just going to move us up to 2. We need to be at 3 before the next bonus. And even then it wouldn't benefit us because we don't yet have any campuses. But if we train a galley, and at some point in the game we're going to train a galley, which is a simple ship, then we get another free envoy, and there are other ways, lots of ways that we'll get envoys through the game. So I'm really pleased to have met them. Let's end the turn. Oh, another thing. If you press the number 4 on the top of your keyboard, it shows you the settler lens. And the settler lens, the other way of doing that is through this lens down here. The settler lens tells you where you can settle and how good that land will be for fresh water. So these green hexes, the green tiles, because they're next to a river, they've got fresh water. You get +3 housing. It means you can build your city a little bit bigger and quicker. If it was coastal water, it's +1. No water, it would be that colour. And too close to another city or blocked by terrain tells you that you can't settle there. Now the reason all of these are red is because they are within 3 hexes of 3 hexes of Geneva. You can use this lens as a way of finding out where there are cities. So if you imagine last turn I was over here, I hadn't actually seen Geneva. If I'd have pressed 4, I would have been able to see all of this red, and I'd have known that there was a city down here, even if I couldn't see the boundary. I mean, we could see the borders, but even if I couldn't see the borders, I would be able to see that. Okay, let's end turn 5. Okay, I wanted to go up here, but I'm gonna follow the river to maximise my movement. Oh, that's interesting. So we've met another city-state. Okay, this time it's Akkad. Now Akkad, we are going to produce 1 production in the capital and in every city with a barracks or stable when producing units. Well, units includes scouts, so that's actually speeding up our production already of that scout, but it also includes civilian units. So later when we want to build more settlers, maybe we might want to build workers, traders. Those are all units, as well as military units, so Akkad is going to give us a bit of a bonus for that. Now, what is its unique bonus here? Melee and anti-cavalry units attacks do full damage to city walls. Now this is not going to be a particularly militaristic playthrough, so I'm not desperate to achieve that. In fact, it might make sense for me to use one of Frederick's bonuses to attack Akkad and kind of get a free city. If I build up, if it makes sense for me to build up a little bit of military, or I'm a bit short of land to settle, I might attack Akkad. And the reason that it's good for Frederick, to do this is that he has additional military policy slot, we'll see in a minute, but also additional combat strength when attacking city-states. +7 is quite a lot. So, and I'm also unlikely to be building many barracks, which is, what the benefit that Akkad gives you. Okay, so this is really interesting because I've identified this as an interesting site for a campus. Now, a really good idea is to use the map tax, put add tag, then you click on the hex that you are thinking of putting a district in, or anything for that matter, and I can go, right, that would be a really good campus. Okay, a +3 campus, I quite like that. But actually this is a +4 campus. 1, 2, 3. Technically it's within reach of Aachen, but I can do something different. I can have a city on this side of the river, of the mountains, and I can put a campus there, +4, and the city centre could be, I think these tiles are free, aren't they? Let's say somewhere around there. Okay, so I'm sort of thinking a city here could have a campus there, be +4, and that would be really good. This is +3, but I don't know what's here. But this actually looks, this hex, if we can build on it, might be another mountain. But this, if we can move into this hex, potentially this is another +3 campus. Okay, and if it is, we could then put our government plaza there. Now, government plazas increase the production of all adjacent districts. It would make this a +4 campus, it would make this a +5 campus. In addition to that, because this campus is adjacent to Aachen and the government district, we get a +1 for every 2 districts that are adjacent. So actually this would become a +3, 4, a +5 with this arrangement. This would be a +5. It's actually a really, really good case, perhaps, for making sure that there'd be a district built here, possibly even the city centre one, because this would then become a 4, 5, this would become a +6 campus just simply by placing the city there instead. One thing about this city though is these are all floodplains. Now you can utilise them as all sorts of benefits to floodplains, but they also damage the districts and the improvements on those tiles when those rivers flood. And there are things you can do to stop that from happening, but that's something to consider. It's a little bit more expensive. Anyway, let's carry on exploring. I really want to know what's in this tile here. Okay, let's get rid of that. Right, so we've got him. We've got our scout. Now this guy is scouting, but he's going to be going in a sort of circle around the city. He can go in a slightly wider circle perhaps in a minute, because we're going to have some other defences soon. This guy is going to just head south and see what's down there. This guy.
The wicked king pursued the lovers Juan and Maria on his swiftest.
Okay, so we have just discovered our first natural wonder. Several things. The first thing it does is the first one we get helps us to discover. Okay, let me explain this. So in the tech tree, it takes us. It takes 25 science. We're getting 3 per turn. It takes 20. When we've got 25 science, it kind of like builds up, and you can see it filling up the ring here. When it gets to the top, when it gets to 25, we have learned animal husbandry. Roughly, well, actually, all of the ones in the same column cost the same amount. So you can see here, irrigation costs 50. Okay, astrology costs 50. But you'll notice that we've already somewhat filled that up. That's the 40% boost. That's because finding a natural wonder boosts astrology. We're going to be doing an awful lot to try and boost. You can't boost the first 3, but almost every other tech can be boosted. Killing a unit with a slinger boosts archery, for example. It's a really good reason for getting an early slinger, because if you can get a kill against a barbarian, you get 40% of 50, which is basically 20 science, kind of for free, just for doing something that perhaps you were going to do anyway. And that's sort of 6 or 7 turns worth of science. That's pretty significant. If we meet another civilization, we're going to get 20 science towards writing. So these are really, really valuable boosts and bonuses. So I'm really, really glad we got that one, although we're not particularly playing a faith game, so developing astrology is not going to be a priority. Boosting irrigation might be useful. Meeting another civilization would be very useful for example, this early game here. So we're just exploring. So right, we've just come across our first barbarian tribe. We're going to go and attack that. Barbarians are properly considered. Barbarians are a resource for you to farm, but they can be a real pain. It's a very good idea, especially early when you're new to the game, to wipe these out as quickly as possible, because if you don't, they can be quite difficult. Right, we also need to build something. I really want to know if I knew that there were horses nearby, I would consider building a builder to improve it, and then to clear this ready for the. But I don't. I can't yet build a settler. Okay, I could build another scout, and that's a very, very sensible idea. I could build a monument. I certainly will want one quite soon. I could also build a slinger, which would improve my military situation, and I think I'm inclined to do that while I'm waiting for the city to grow to population 2, because I can't build a settler until I'm at least population 2. So let's go for that. Okay. Okay, so I can move to here, but he's on a hill, so I can't attack him this turn, so I'll wait until next turn. This guy is exploring big time. Notice by following the flat land we're able to maximise his movement.
If there are no dogs in heaven.
Right, so we'll have a look at that in a moment. Oh, well, we've got horses. That's very interesting. Okay, so let's attack. Okay, all we do is we select the unit we want to attack with and we right click on the target. I'll talk a little bit more about combat in a moment. So I'm really tempted to swap to a builder, and I wasted 2 turns because I want to improve this, and I'm going to clear that, and that's going to make it much quicker and for me to build a settler. Right, next tech. Well, we're obviously going for pottery. Okay, so we're now going to do this in just 6 turns because we're now producing 4 science per turn. The reason it's gone up is that we've now got 2 population in our city. Each population in your city produces a small amount of science automatically. I can't remember the exact number. And if we look at how to manage citizens, we can see now I'm working these 2 really good tiles. So you see the arrival of those horses made this a much better tile altogether. Okay. Also, if we improve them, it's a strategic resource. We can be able to stockpile it so we can build really good military units. And as I'm thinking now about going to war with Akkad at some point, that may very well be something that we want to do. Okay, not finding much down there of interest. Right, so we have got another barbarian camp has spawned very near to Aachen. If they discover my city, if they discover you, they can be quite difficult to handle. So this guy here, now, so I've left clicked on my warrior, I hover over the barbarian camp, and you can see that the spearman is getting 32 points combat power. I've only got 21. So if I attack, there's a suggestion there. I don't know if suggestion is the right word, a sort of a prediction of what's going to happen. And I'm going to lose a lot of strength. You can see the picture of my warrior with sort of before and after. You can see a lot of my strength will go in that attack, not that much of the barbarians. So I'm going to lose this if I attack. There's all sorts of, you can see my base warrior strength is 20. I can't point at it. But my base warrior strength is, you can see, because I'm damaged, I've got a -4, but I've got +5 combat strength because I'm attacking an anti-cavalry unit, which is like these sorts of basic infantry units get that bonus. He's got some pluses and minuses, but he's in great terrain, so he's +6 for being fortified, +3 for being in ideal terrain. What advantage have I got? Over barbarians, I've got this advantage, this one here. I can fortify until I am healed. Every turn, he will become a little bit stronger until he returns to full health. Barbarian units do not have that feature. So that's a big benefit to me. Now this guy I've got 2 choices with. One of those choices is that I move back to try and prevent their scout from discovering Aachen, or I could carry on exploring. I actually think I'm going to go back and try and prevent their scout from discovering Aachen. Here we go. Right, so I'm going to move to here and attack because I want to put myself in between Aachen and this scout. Now we did very similar amounts of damage to each other, but remember, I can regain strength. He can't. Okay, I'm going to regain strength here. Right, he's being attacked by another civilization. So I don't know if you caught that, but there was I think it's India, the Indian colours of Chandragupta just attacked there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stay exactly where I am. If Chandragupta, if that is Chandragupta, keeps attacking this camp, it might be that it's so weak that I'm actually able to take him out with a scout. Capturing and destroying a camp gives you a whole series of bonuses, and essentially I'll be stealing this one. It's from Chandragupta. He's going to do all the work, and then hopefully I'm going to take it. Okay, one more turn and this place will be back at full strength.
No man ever wetted clay.
Okay, so now when I attack, I haven't got that disadvantage. I'm now all the way up to 25 because I'm no longer damaged, but he still is damaged. Now this is much less harmful to me. I'm still not doing great, but I'm able to do quite a bit of damage to him. We're going to wait. Right, next turn we'll talk about culture and civics. We've completed pottery. Okay, so I want to go for this. Now I know that I'm going to be able to get 40 science to that because I know that there's an enemy, there's another civ down in this direction somewhere, not very far away from me.
At his best,
okay.
Man is the noblest of all
We just
animals.
found our first civics.
Separated from law and
Code of
justice.
laws. Okay, I'll close that for a moment. Essentially it's this. So we had 1.5 culture per turn building up. And that has allowed us, we need 20 points, and we've got that 20 points of culture, so we now have Code of Laws. We can now allow that culture to move towards craftsmanship or foreign trade, and obviously it goes right off into the future. Because I'm building a builder, I'm very inclined to do this one, because I can improve 3 tiles with a builder. If I improve 3 tiles, bang, I get 40%, which here would be 16 culture kind of for free, just for improving my territory. I've already boosted this one, which is by discovering a second continent. Okay, so it's like another culture tree, if you like. Now, because we've got our first type of government, we can put policies in place. Now there are different governments, but all of them are unlocked. They're kind of a little bit darker here, but in not that much time we'll unlock some of these. But we do have this simple government, chiefdom. We're able to put cards into these slots. Most civilizations have only one card here in the military policies slot. One of Ferdinand's benefits is that Frederick Barbarossa's benefits is that he has 2. So I can put both of the military cards in. This one will give more experience to my recon units when they achieve something. This one will make me much better at fighting barbarians. Both of these are quite useful at the moment. I'm fighting barbarians in 2 places. This is a really good card, urban planning, because it increases production by 1 in all of your cities. But I'd like to get a little bit of faith at the moment. We'll talk about pantheons a bit later on, but this card will allow me in about 20-25 turns to get to begin the sort of the religion game, if you like. So we've set it. Now, when we go to attack here, we can see we got a +5 combat strength versus cavalry units. It's now only a minor defeat. Much better than it was before, but nonetheless I'm going to regain my strength first. Okay, right, I'm going to go here. Now I'm going to build a pasture improvement. Now I can do that because we got animal husbandry, which allows you to build pastures and camps. When I build a pasture, it is going to boost, so 40% of the 144 that we need for horseback riding, which is a lot of science, isn't it? Okay, 40, it's getting on for 60 science, I will earn when I build that pasture. In addition, when I build it, you can see that it's going to give me an additional point of production if I'm working that tile. And it's going to give me 2 horses per turn. Those 2 horses are very, very valuable to me. I can sell them to other civilizations, or I can keep them, and I can use them to build cavalry units, which are powerful units for going forward to war if that's what I decide to do. So we're definitely going to build this. Fantastic. Okay, I am going to finish the slinger because we're nearly there, and then I'm going to build another settler. That's the plan. But there's other things that we can build. We got the Great Bath, for example. Now this city down here would be great with the Great Bath because it's essentially makes the city immune to flooding. on Prince level, we could probably build it. Higher difficulty levels, the AI tends to build it very, very quickly indeed. It's literally almost impossible to build that on Deity without a very great deal of luck going your way. Okay, let's choose production. Are we going for Slinger, aren't we? That's right. I want something to come and help out down here. Right, so this is interesting because he's actually spawned another unit. I've kind of taken too long to defeat this guy, really. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the camp to stop it spawning more units. It's spawning units because he's discovered some civ and he's going off to fight him. But if I capture this camp, I will get attacked by that barbarian. So there's a little bit of a calculation. I think that I will survive that attack. Not sure I'm 100% confident about that, actually. But there we go. What's the worst that can happen? Don't answer that question. Okay. Now, I can go over here and I can clear this. If I clear it, clear the maze, I won't... That doesn't count as improving a tile, so I won't get this craftsmanship boost, or certainly not for a while, but it will increase the size of my city. What I really want to do is use it to improve something, but really there's not very much that I can improve at the moment, so I'm quite inclined to... So if I clear that, I'll immediately go to a 3 size city, and the city will probably use this tile. Which is going to increase my production by 1, which I suppose is worth it. Yeah, it's a slow city. It's a slow city, and then I've got one more. I'll have one more charge, and I'll use that to perhaps help the next city. Okay. Okay, I survived. That's great news. See, here's this river has just flooded. It's actually made one of these tiles a little bit better. Right, now anything I do here, I'm going to die, aren't I? If I try to attack that, it's going to destroy me. But okay, I could run away, and that's a perfectly sensible thing to do, but in the situation, it just so happens that I've gained enough experience. This little white line here, when it gets to 15, you get this promotion available indicator. If I touch that, I get a choice of promotions. I can either go for Battle Cry, which improves my combat strength by 7, or I can go for Tortoise, which improves my kind of defense against ranged attacks, which is very, very useful later in the game. But at the beginning, this is probably the best. It increases my combat strength also against ranged attacks, but it also it increases my combat strength against all types of attacks. So this is on balance the best. Later on, it's more than 15 for the second promotion, but later on, if I get a second promotion, see, I can if I take Battle Cry, I can get faster movement and the ability to scale cliffs. If I take Tortoise, I can go up this one. There's no reason why you can't have all 7. If you're in a very sort of if you're playing a game where you are going for world domination, and then you usually you often get some units with all 7. Now this also increases my health by 50%, which I know is more than enough to protect me from this unit, which will attack me, because once you've cleared a camp, the barbarians attack you every single turn. Okay, so I've got this guy here now. Okay, so he's going to move down. We are going to build a settler. It's going to take us 9 turns, but when I clear this, oh, it just gave me money. I expected it to give me... Oh, right, I should spend this money on something. Okay. Right, that was sort of like somewhat disastrous. That wasn't what I intended. We still haven't met another civilization, because Chandragupta is not doing a very good job, if I'm honest, of taking this out. Let's do that. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna regain some strength up here. He'll attack me again, but then that'll be it. Okay. So he needs to regain strength, really, doesn't he? In fact, I think what we're gonna do is put in here and regain some strength. Okay. Right. This chap needs to just get out of the way for a bit, because we're going to use him to improve the next city. Okay. Finally, those barbarians are cleared. We can start doing something else with this guy. So what you'll notice is when you attack, you damage your own unit as well. But because I used the slinger, it's a ranged attack, and he's still in full health. Can he take this city? No, he can't take this barbarian camp. So he's going to just stay there and carry on regaining strength. We can put this builder to sleep for a bit, because there's nothing specific for him to do at the moment. I've met Chandragupta. Okay. Would you like to visit a nearby city and sample our hospitality? I would, because what we'll do is we'll find out where his nearby city is, and we say goodbye to him. And all of a sudden, we've almost researched writing, which would allow us to build the campus. So that's great news. Unfortunately, he's cleared that for us, which was not what we wanted at all. So let's get back to exploring. Now, on turn 1, if you contact Chandragupta, or any civilization for that matter, and send them 25 gold, they will accept it. If you don't do it on the first turn you meet them, they normally won't accept it. And this puts us on a much more friendly basis with Chandragupta now. Because we are not trying to win by domination, we don't particularly want to go to war with everybody. If you have a look at the heart here, it tells you whether he likes you or not. Well, we get +3. Notice that's green because we sent him a delegation. That was the 25 gold. Also, he had a good first impression of us. That gives us +1. Now, there are negatives as well. So it could have been that we had a bad first impression, all kinds of reasons he might not like us, but he's relatively positive. If he gets to like us a bit more, he might even accept friendship, and then we know that he can't attack us. He won't attack us for 30 turns if we're declared friends. I suspect that because we're on a relatively low difficulty level, that if we don't do anything to annoy him in a few turns, he'll be quite happy to make friends. We can also obviously declare war. We can also make demands. I'm not planning to do that at the moment. We can also offer deals. So I've got some horses. Now I don't really want to give him 20 horses. I've only got 10, but I will have 20 if I wait. But I wonder how much he would offer us. What would you give me for 10 horses? He needs 20 to build a horseman, so I'm not worried about selling him 10. But he'll give me 2 a turn for 30 turns, so that's 60 gold. I'm going to accept that. He can't do anything with 10 horses, and I can certainly do something with 60 gold. Okay, is there anything we could buy? See, I'd be 10. If you look down here, you can see that this city can grow to 6 in population before it's kind of like capped out. I mean, it will grow above 6, but very, very, very slow and inefficiently. That's because of the housing. Now, we get some of that housing from the fresh water that we're on. We also get a half from a pasture. Granary is one of the best ways of boosting it. That increases it by 2, your housing by 2. So if we bought that, it would go all the way up to 8. Now the reason I'm talking about this, all that we could potentially buy a monument at some point, because that would increase our culture production, and our culture production is very low at the moment. Now obviously we're building a settler, and I want to leave that settler building, but because we're beginning to amass a reasonably large amount of money, soon we could buy some of these things. It wouldn't take that long for us to get up there. We could already buy another scout if we wanted to, or a warrior, or a slinger if we were worried about the kind of the security situation. But at the moment, my plan is to press on with what we are doing. Building up a bit more money, maybe building a building later. Right, he quite likes us. He's actually sent us a delegation. That 25 we spent to give to him, he's kind of essentially given that back. So I don't feel at all in danger at the moment. I don't know where this barbarian has come from. I've got no military forces here. I wonder if you make friends now. Okay, I think it'll come. But you see, we're already on 220, and we're making 8 a turn now. So we really are going to be able to buy one of these buildings quite soon. Literally 3 turns, unless anything changes, and we'd be able to build a monument with cash. I really should be able to send. I really need to send him back to deal with the warriors if they become a problem, but also to escort this settler to wherever we're going to build our next city. Now, because we've exposed all of this area. Look at this. Map attacks, bad attack. Put one here. This is going to be a +3, 4 city campus. That's going to be really, really good. 1, 2, 3. So we can have a city centre here. And that's going to make it 3, 4. That's going to make it a +5. So you can see what we're producing, what we're planning out for later on, is this incredible kind of science hub around here, which is going to be producing masses and masses of science. And later on, you'll see why these see ways that we can multiply the power of these science bonuses once we're able to build these cities. We'll have the ability to build a campus in just a moment. Okay, so he's going to carry on exploring. I'd like to give him a bit more health, but I think we've wasted too long with this guy already.
Writing means sharing.
Okay, so I can now build
It's
campuses,
part of the human condition to want to share things.
and this
Thoughts,
particular one that I
ideas.
won't want to build that. Right, so this guy is getting very close. In fact, so moving him there gives me the opportunity to attack this if he moves to here next turn. Now, I think they have to actually see the city centre. You can't see the city centre at the moment where he is, and they get a little thing on their head when they've actually seen your city and they're on their way back to tell the other barbarians about it. So it's possible to stop them. Right, so what are we going to research next? So, okay, realistically, I need to be. I'm going to go for mining, because what I'd like to be able to do is be able to use that settler for, that builder for something. I'd really like to be able to improve 3 tiles. I've only improved 1 at the moment, and I've only got 1 more build on here, but that would really boost move towards craftsmanship. Not quite there with to build Iron Monument. Okay, right, he's improved in strength. Right, we now know where Chandragupta is. He's going to move to here in a minute. Okay, let's go this way. Okay. Now, we can declare war and steal a builder. That's not a terrible idea. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we're going to be able to attack this. Very, very weak now. And we'll be able to destroy it. So the camp will never know that we were there. So I could declare war on Chandragupta and steal this, and that's not a terrible idea. But I feel like I've got a lot of things on my plate right now, trying to establish these 3 cities. So I think I'm not going to do it. If it was a settler, I would steal it. I'd declare war and steal it. I'm kind of wanting to make friends with everybody here. We just boosted archery because my slinger destroyed a unit. Okay, let's. We're getting that right. I know what we wanted to do. We wanted to build a monument, and we can do that with money. We now have 3.8 production of culture. That's much, much better. We've spent all our money, but it'll rebuild. I think that was worth it. Okay, so we are letting Chandragupta off the hook. Oh, another thing we've forgotten to do. Okay, as soon as I was able to build campuses, I should have placed it. Okay, place it. Then I can go back in and I can swap back to settler. So it's going to produce my settler. The reason you do that is that the point at which you begin to build a district, you lock in its price. As you discover technologies and civics, the price increases. So at the moment it's going to take me 8 turns to build a campus. If I leave that for quite some time, it'll actually be quite a bit less because I will have increased my production, but the price would have remained the same. Okay, so I don't want him to go very far, so I think I'm going to move him down in this direction. This settler doesn't have to go very far. I'm going to risk sending him to here or here without an escort because I just want to do a bit more exploring. I feel like I've really not done a good job of exploring. I think the problem was that I made the investment of that scout to try and clear that camp, and that didn't work out. Okay, right, at least this guy's back to exploring. Okay, so we've got our first settlement. So that took just a little bit longer than perhaps I was hoping, but I think that the pace of these videos will go up as I work my way through some of the basic concepts that we were sort of talking about. That's taken us up to the point where we've established our first city. We're about to build our second city, and in the next episode we're going to be looking at developing the first 3 cities in a tight little cluster, and then planning out the sort of second wave, if you like, of city production. So hopefully that video will be out tomorrow. And remember, if you're getting anything out of these videos, you're enjoying them or you're learning from them, please hit like and maybe consider subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye bye.